This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you want to test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach you is sure to beat you, but nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from the teacher now.
Wow, I feel like you feel that boom, boom, boom.
Kick,
oh yeah,
boom, punch,
boom, boom.
Once more now, don't get cocky. It's gonna get rocky. We're gonna move down to the next jockey now.
Baconsale.
Good job, Jake. That's
Yay,
good.
Jacob.
Good job, Tommy Wiseau.
Oh yeah, Tommy
Punch.
Oh hi, it's all in the mind.
Welcome to Baconsale. I'm Joel.
I'm Kent.
and Jacob.
Oh, Jacob. Makes me sad to hear you sound like that.
Poor
I
Jacob.
was sick.
Here's a sad story, everyone. Well, we were planning to record, and Jake's been sick for a few days. We knew he was sick, and we still made him come tonight.
We did.
It's true.
But in fairness,
How mad are you?
in fairness, Jacob's been sick on a third of the shows. So, yeah.
right.
Have I?
Yeah, there's some coughing, maybe.
I think you've been ill. I
Sniffles.
don't think you take good care of your body, bud. Stop trying to do the crazy weight drops.
Yeah, don't do that anymore,
I don't
please.
do that. No one's done that.
Eat some chocolate. You can do it.
Give me some chocolate.
But we'd like to thank you for your feedback we got for our superheroes show last time, or superpowers. Not
was a
superheroes,
blast.
superpowers
That show was so much fun.
It was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But then, and thank you. I want to give a special thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to give a special thank you to all of you out there who maybe once and for all proved that teleporting is superior to flying, in the sense that we put a poll out there on our Facebook and Twitter
Are
pages.
you saying we can determine the truth by a popular vote?
Sometimes, Jacob. Sometimes.
Sometimes?
A popular vote of 101 people who chose
Hey,
selfishly.
that's 100 more than I thought we were going to get, since we have one listener. But no, 78%, this is Facebook, 78% teleporting, 22% flying. And then on Twitter, we had 73% teleporting and 27% flying.
I demand a recount. There are so many fake profiles out there, and you know who you are. And
Easy.
you know what you voted
Joel's
for.
the only one who plays Al Gore around here, okay?
That's not true. But thank you for everything. It was a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun, actually.
We had a blast. And we hope you did too. And spread the good word of Baconsale. If you know people that would enjoy that show or other shows that we've done, pass it along to them. Let people know about our podcast. Give us a rating and review on iTunes too, so we can get more visibility and keep growing our audience to more than one person.
Yes. And we're going to go for a small audience tonight because sometimes when we talk a certain topic,
Doctor Who!
not Doctor Who,
Don't turn off the show.
but Jake, tell us what we're talking about and maybe why they should listen.
Well, I have no idea why they should listen, but...
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, some time ago, we had a gaming show, and we're going to be revisiting that, but this time, we're not going quite so retro, although it is still pretty retro.
Yeah, it's pretty retro.
Yeah, this is PlayStation 1. And
PlayStation.
Joel and Kent have... and these guys... Are
lightsaber?
PlayStation
Both of our
1
sounds are terrible.
is quite beloved to both of them. It's actually kind of a blind spot for me. I went straight from Super Nintendo to PlayStation 2, but
Why? Why do you hate the PlayStation 1?
I don't know. I wasn't around for it. Like, for some reason, whatever I was doing.
Hold on, you
didn't
weren't
involve-
around from 1996 to 2001?
Pretty much.
Where were you?
I was basically
He was getting his
enacting
upgrade.
real life video game things during that time. I wasn't.
We
like,
don't understand. Please clarify.
I'm good. Nope.
Please talk more. I
Don't
know it
make
hurts
him
to
talk. Poor Jacob. And this is the kind of what we talked about on the Sega show. We
Yeah.
talked about our Sega show where we discussed how Sega was kind of my prime gaming days.
Mm-hmm.
And PlayStation actually is kind of when I started to diverge off the gaming path.
And now, why is that?
I'm not sure.
Because he doesn't like the PlayStation 1.
I was playing games and then I went to Portugal for 2 years and I came back and didn't play as many games. But
Okay, so you grew up. Is that what you're saying?
not really. Like, I still loved gaming and I'd always play whenever, like, when I came home, I'd play like Halo tournaments and all that. But for
Right.
some reason, I just didn't own a console again until the Wii came out. And
Wow.
I just barely got my PlayStation 4, as you know. Thank you, Colton. And
Which, by the way, is a huge service. I'm super proud you have a PlayStation 4 now, I just need to say.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But we're talking about PlayStation 1 today, and we're going to do kind of the similar thing we did to the Sega show.
Yes.
Because with the classic gaming system of the NES, they went and put 30 games on there or something like that, and then we decided we were going to do a fantasy list for games we want on
Like
a
the
Sega classic.
essentials.
Yeah, essentials. And so then Kent and I were coming up with a list for PlayStation, and I thought I was a PlayStation fan
I think you still are.
until I met Kent. Where I'm like, yeah, I like this game and this game. And Kent's like, this is the best game ever. And it's better than Sega and Nintendo and anything ever. And I'm like, whoa. So we actually had it out because Kent said, he liked PlayStation more than Sega,
Jake,
which offended me.
could you please tell us all about this conversation you had to witness? Please talk as much as you possibly can.
I remember you calling Joel a Neanderthal for his opinions.
Yep.
Which is every
You're
week.
you're basically in the Stone Age, Joel, with your video
I believe
game
the word
opinions.
silly was also thrown around. Like, that's
lot.
just silly. That's
That
you're
is just
silly,
silly.
Joel.
It's what I say now. I don't say like, okay, or Slack ideal, because I say, don't be silly.
Yeah.
So, listener, you're actually the real winner in this, because if you do have the desire to go back and be like, I would just want to play the best of the original PlayStation console, this is your list. Like, this is the place. Pick up these titles, and this is where to start.
Now, can I give my history? Like, Joel, I do want to hear more about your history with the PlayStation, because we kind of did the same thing for Sega as well.
Okay, although I'm going to say right now, you're going to have more history than I do.
Well, I will, and it's not history I'm really proud of. I'm about to...
You murdered a person for your PlayStation, didn't you?
A similar crime.
Okay.
Honestly. Okay.
It was the summer of 1995, or actually fall of 1995.
I think it was 97 is when I bought my PlayStation. I was 16 years old. And I bought it because, okay, this is like a lame story, but I'm going to share it anyways. I had, there was a Sega Saturn. It had 4 free games. I had
Sega
$200 to kill. I was
You
like,
had $200 to kill when you were 17?
yeah, isn't that awesome? I worked at Laguna Beach, remember?
Oh, that's right.
So I had a ton of money, totally expendable.
All those tips from the ladies he lotioned up. Would you please put some lotion on my back, Sonny? Sure, lady.
Here's $5.
The hair on the shoulders. I mean, it was always kind of weird. So I had $200. I saw Sega Saturn, 4 free games. I saw the N64, and it had Super Mario 64. And I said, man, that's obviously the best system. I've never been a Nintendo guy. But, I love the NES, but I was like, maybe I'm buying that. And I saw the PlayStation. And I was like, well, what? Who cares about a PlayStation? All I see on the PlayStation is a game called Twisted Metal and Jet Moto. I don't care about those games. And then I'm like, 4 free games on the Saturn. That's what I'm going to buy. And I talked to the clerk, and he's like, actually, the PlayStation is getting a lot of cool games. You may want to check it out. I know it doesn't really come with any free games except for this demo pack.
Did this worker have angel wings or something like that?
Honestly.
Because Sega Saturn? Ugh.
Exactly. Those would have been the only 4 games I would have bought. So I bought this thing over an N64, immediately regretted it.
Yeah.
Until about like the 3rd day of playing it. And I was like...
if you got an N64, you'd probably still be fine with that decision. It would have
yeah, it would have
changed
been like
the
Zelda,
course of your whole
Ocarina
life.
of Time. And been one of those players.
Everyone loves that game. Oh
Except
my
for
gosh.
I found the beauty of the PlayStation. I never stopped. And then this is where we get into my friend's criminal past. So I have a friend.
Jacob?
And this
He
friend...
didn't know me yet.
I know. When he says friend and criminal, I just think you.
So this friend, he liked to burn PlayStation games. This was back in the days when...
Let him on fire, Joel. That's what he means.
I got it.
No, like burn CDs. Games were on CDs at this point.
Right. Lighter fluid. Got it.
Yep.
He found a way to rip these PlayStation
Wait.
games
How could you rip it like paper?
and make copies. And then he started making all
On a
these
copy
copies for
machine.
himself.
Yep, on a copy machine.
Right.
Then he ripped the copies.
I see.
This is going well. So a friend of mine used to burn these PlayStation games and go to like the video store and rent 10 games at a time. And then the cashier would be like, why would you need 10 games? You have to bring these back in 2 days. Like, oh no, I just love playing. It's just so much fun. Burn all the games and then bring them back the next day.
Gosh.
And so this friend of mine had like 200, 300 games. And then he came up with a brilliant idea with his friends to start selling these games online.
Oh, no.
This was in 97, around the early days of the internet.
Wow.
At least for me using it when I used AOL.
How quickly can you move product with a dial-up connection?
Oh, honestly, right?
Yeah.
But it sold these for $4 a piece. Games were $40 at that time.
Dude,
And so
was running a racket.
this friend was selling
$4
these
Kids,
so
don't listen
cheap.
to Uncle Kent, okay? This
for
is bad.
$4 a piece. And by the way, Sony should thank this person because, yes, he may have sold games illegally, but he sold at least 30 he got 30 of his friends to buy PlayStations just so he can modify them and sell them the games. And so I'm not proud of this friend of mine, whoever he may be.
He or she?
No, it's a he.
Okay. What does his name rhyme with?
Trent?
Okay.
Doesn't that rhyme with your name?
No. And then there's a further story that all has to do with my buddy actually interviewing for the NSA, and he's going to be the Air National Guard, and he was like, please don't tell him about the PlayStation games. Please don't tell him about the PlayStation games.
Because they were going to call you as a reference?
Yeah, because I was referenced. I was background checked multiple times, and I was like, don't worry, I didn't.
Ring,
I mean,
PlayStation
this
burning.
friend didn't. So here's the thing. My late 90s were all about the PlayStation. Like, I played these games all the time, and I really started to fall in love with RPGs, which is, I think this is when I became a certified geek. Because before I was like, I like sports. I want to be in the NBA. And then I found
I thought you wanted to be a wrestler. You wanted to be in the WWE.
The wrestling came after the PlayStation. And so something broke.
All right.
Something broke within me. But no, I love this system. Joel, I know you have a passion for this system as well. So
I don't in comparison, though, because I played this, but I was a really casual gamer when it came to PlayStation. Like, me and my little brother Mike, we would play a lot, and we played together. But he honestly had the games, and he was the one I was playing his games a lot of the time.
Okay,
because I, had discovered girls by this point, and was going on dates.
What are those?
Well,
Kent had not yet discovered them. Besides the ones in Laguna Beach with the back horn. Yeah,
but no, the reason I thought I was a fan because I could name a bunch of games that I played a lot.
Yeah,
but then Kent would have a lot of more memories attached to these games.
Totally,
and would play them on hours and hours on end at the sacrifice of personal connections with the other human beings.
No, there's a game in this list that I had to include that many people won't know, but I played it for, and this is small potatoes compared to Warcraft, but probably 60 hours to beat this game. And for me back then, that was a long time.
Oh, it is. Most of these games, a lot.
Jake's looking at me like, you're crazy.
Oh, no, that's nothing anymore.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
But no, that's the thing is like we talked about in the Sega show, a lot of those games back then were intended for one sitting of conquering it.
Yes.
Meaning you're there for 2 to 3 hours and the game's over.
And then PlayStation became 15 hours.
Yeah, but even then, a lot of the games here, they're about 2 to 3 hours, and then you start getting the bigger and bigger games and
exactly
into those ones. And I think it's going to be interesting because Kent and I, we came up with a list of 20 games, which we'll get to in a sec, but they trade off on preferences. And it's funny to me to see the difference in our gaming styles and what we liked and what we didn't like. Because you pick a game, and I'm like, I never even played that game.
Yeah,
and
same with you.
And I pick a game, and you're like, you're silly, you silly Neanderthal.
I love you still.
I don't think you do. Not as much as PlayStation.
You're like,
not as much as PlayStation.
I
guarantee
with your
that.
children's toys, Joel.
Look, if the PlayStation 1 was a girl, it would have been my high school sweetheart for sure. I would have taken it to every dance. And hopefully it would have accepted.
Did you take a PlayStation to your high school prom?
This is based on real events.
I did.
I knew it. But first, some general thoughts about PlayStation, because like I said, I mentioned earlier, it came out in September of 1995 to North America. This was the 5th generation of video game consoles.
Yeah.
It was there with the Sega Saturn and the N64. And actually, the PlayStation started out as kind of this Super Nintendo compatible system. They were working with Nintendo to make kind of this Super NES CD product,
because they'd worked with Nintendo and Genesis for software. In fact, they created the discs for Sega CD are actually Sony discs.
Yeah,
so they were working with both, and Nintendo's like, "Hey, we want to do a big project with you. We want you to be an add-on for us." And then it all came down
because they were going to announce it at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. They had this big partnership between Sony and Nintendo, but apparently the Nintendo chairman decided that it wasn't going to happen, or was it the Sega one? I can't remember which one
actually,
it was.
Sony went first, and Sony said, "Hey, everyone, it's the Super Nintendo PlayStation." So, like, basically the Super PlayStation.
Space Station. There's a space in between PlayStation at that
and
point.
And they showed the hardware and everything, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Look what Nintendo's doing." And then the very next day, Nintendo says, "We're working with Philips.
Yeah,
we're not working with
what it was.
Sony." And they canceled everything and didn't tell Sony about it at all. Sony had to find out through the conference.
And so they got all mad at him. And so Sony decided to continue to work with their PlayStation. They were going to release it on their own, be like, we'll show Nintendo. And Nintendo's like, no. We own the rights to the name PlayStation. 2 words.
So
they mashed it into 1 word and got through the copyright.
And actually, so remember, they just had the Genesis. Sega! And they were trying to go big with the Saturn, which obviously went nowhere. And the PlayStation is actually credited with the destruction of the Sega Saturn.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Is like Sega and Nintendo were neck and neck for a while there.
Yeah.
And it was actually Virtua Fighter on Sega that made PlayStation go, hey, that 3D polygon graphics.
Exactly.
That's the future of gaming. So they started to focus more on that and make that their platform. And they did it better than Sega Saturn.
Yes.
And creamed them. So poor Sega Saturn just it really killed the whole Sega brand. But then you get PlayStation jumping in there, and they became this monolith.
So with their first system, they sold, at the time, the most consoles ever.
Over 2 million units within its first 6 months on the market.
Wow.
And now they're at 102 million.
Which is
for PlayStation 1?
Yeah, PlayStation 1 has the 4th highest selling console number.
Well, and I remember, too, that they marketed it as kind of this, like I said, I mentioned this before, but PlayStation is more of an entertainment system because you could play audio CDs on your PlayStation, which was like That's amazing. I can play CDs and play games. This box does everything.
Right.
One day I'll have a phone that can take pictures.
No. But it was crazy because Nintendo, they wanted to stick with the cartridges. They were staying in the past. Whereas PlayStation, they wanted voice in their games. They wanted to play audio CDs. They wanted to go more entertainment. And they couldn't do DVDs yet, obviously, but it was just CDs. But it's a step forward that brought most software developers straight to them instead of Nintendo.
Yeah. Now, just putting it out there, do you guys want to guess? Ken, maybe you did the research, maybe you didn't. Do you want to guess how many different titles for PlayStation there have been created?
I have the number.
For PlayStation 1?
Guess.
I'll go 250.
Higher.
450.
Much higher.
No kidding. 800.
Much higher.
1,800.
7,918.
Get out of here.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
7,000 titles?
7,918.
That's not even real.
I know. It's
I only had
insane.
300.
That's like Kent making the crap in his basement with his friend illegally.
Yeah, but we only made
those,
300.
Those don't count.
And that does include software titles that weren't released here in the U.S., but still thousands and thousands of
crazy?
games.
7,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation did officially...
If you were really a fan, you would have played all of them.
I know.
That's true.
I'd still be playing.
That's what we're going to be doing tonight. But no, the PlayStation 1 did end around 2006, I want to say, 2007.
They stopped production.
Yeah, the last game to be produced for this system, specifically for the system, was FIFA Football 2005. And they did have some compilations after that.
PlayStation 2 was out by then.
And that's what
Yeah.
they do, essentially.
So they kept it going for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
that was the last game they marketed, and then they sold their last PlayStation, I think, shortly after that, and then they moved on to the PlayStation 2. But let's get into the games, shall we?
Indeed. We should get this going.
So once again, Kent and I will be going back and forth with our picks, and you can tell who picked it by the one who's primarily talking about it.
So it's going to start with Kent, and we'll go back and forth and end with you, Joel.
All right, our first one, and you could almost make this an entire compilation. In fact, many of these games have at least a trilogy on the original PlayStation.
So we may mention the collection, but
Sure, but I'm gonna
primarily
call it a
focused
single
on one
one.
game, yeah.
So the first game that has to be mentioned, this one was a PlayStation original. Eventually went to the Saturn as well, but this stayed actually a first-party PlayStation game for a couple sequels, and now it's on everything. It's Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. How did I know you were going to pick Tomb Raider, Kent?
What do you mean? I haven't talked about Tomb Raider this year at all.
A couple of times you have talked about Tomb Raider and her polygons.
Oh, there's only a few polygons.
Stop.
One or two.
Stop.
So Tomb Raider was developed by Eidos Games. Came out in 1996. And so it was pretty early in the PlayStation's life, actually. And for these games, Joel, and feel free to jump in any time, but I went and transcribed the back covers of each game. You know how like the back of movies will advertise the summary in a certain way? I did the same for gaming.
Okay.
So some of these are a little bit too long, and some are just not very descriptive. So we're going to have to talk about the story afterwards.
All right.
But this one says, sometimes a killer body just isn't enough.
Wow.
Baconsale.
These were different
Wait,
times.
that's not a summary. That's a tagline.
But it's climb, swim, and backflip your way through a maze of cryptic death traps. So realistic, you can practically smell the decaying flesh.
Which is funny because when you look at it nowadays,
Baconsale.
like I actually just watched a video the other day. It was a React video, and they played the original Tomb Raider versus the newest Tomb Raider.
Right.
And the kids that were playing, because they had like teenagers playing it, were just grossed out by how bad the graphics were in the original
It's
Tomb
almost
Raider.
hard to play at this point.
They're like, I can't tell where the wall ends and the floor begins.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was polygons. It was
at the time,
realistic.
super realistic and hot.
3D.
So
Family friendly.
unload an arsenal of lethal firepower on any wild dog, giant lizard, or bloodthirsty mercenary that gets in your way.
Wild dog? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I had to speak
Oh, yeah.
in that
You
voice for some
shoot
reason.
dogs in that game.
And dinosaurs and gorillas and bears.
Yeah,
and
the dinosaur.
That's why you were living out your fantasies.
shooting dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But in this game, so you go to ancient Rome, the Incan ruins, Egyptian pyramids, and lost city of Atlantis. Like
All
they
in the
almost-
first one?
All in the first one.
Okay.
It's kind of strange. Like they're like, maybe this is the only game we're going to make. In fact, Eidos was actually going bankrupt when they made this game, and this one
Eidos
just
is the game developer?
yeah, and then this game took off and had 2 more sequels on the PlayStation 1.
Actually, I got a couple more here that I was looking at. So they had Tomb Raider 1997, Tomb Raider 2 1998, Tomb Raider 3 1999, Tomb Raider Last Revelation 2000, and Tomb Raider Chronicles 2001. So those
All
were
on the PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1. But those last couple seemed like compilation ones. Well, the last one does, the Tomb Raider Chronicles.
And what they did is they usually had a successful game like on this one, and then the team was like, well, that made so much money. In fact, this one sold 8 million copies. It's the 4th best PlayStation seller of all time.
Yeah, 4th best. It's insane.
But I do want to say, fun fact here, so Lara Croft was a phenomenon back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to remember because you don't maybe we don't want to.
Well, I mean, the video game industry was primarily dominated by male Italian plumbers at the time. And to have a female protagonist who wasn't Italian and didn't do any plumbing was revolutionary.
That is revolutionary.
So she was the spokesman for Timberland shoes, and also U2 used her in their Pop Mart tour for advertising. Yeah, kind of strange, right? I do want to say this. I'm going to be very discreet about Lara's outlandish proportions were because a developer actually adjusted the slider too far as the proportion slider. Sure. Yep. And then the publisher of the game saw the results.
On the twin guns that she carries.
Yes, the twin guns.
Yes, that she carries.
Wow.
The two handguns.
That she carries well. He adjusted the slider too much. And then
try to pull it back. Kent pulls it right back in.
He did this on accident, almost as a joke. The publisher saw it and said, yep, that's our mascot. That's the character. And he was like, the developer was like, no. But it stayed that way. And so that's Lara Croft we know, which has now changed, obviously, if you've seen the recent games. But she was known for that. So anyways, Tomb Raider, I think, is an essential PlayStation game.
I agree.
All right.
Yep.
Now, I got Spyro, the Spyro collection, which, if you don't know Spyro, he's a dragon. And he helps other dragons get free from rocks. He's a purple dragon, which they were going to make him green, like a green dragon should be.
That's no fun.
But they were worried that he would blend in with the grass, so they made him purple to kind of make him pop.
Okay.
Ken, you want to read the background of this one? Or the back cover of this one?
Meet Spyro the Dragon. He's a feisty little flame-spouting dragon on a gigantic go-anywhere 3D fantasy adventure.
Well, and that's exactly the tone of the game. Like, you imagine this kind of magical fantasy realm, but it's like, hey guys, I'm Spyro.
Yeah.
And then, like, the bad guy is Nasty Nork.
Yeah.
He's half gnome, half orc. And at the very beginning, they're doing like this television interview, and they're like, yeah, Nasty Nork's been gone for ages, and he's ugly. And then it shows Nasty Nork, and he's like, ugly? And he gets all mad, and then turns all the dragons to stone. And it's up to Spyro to go around and save them.
Save the adult dragons. And he's a tiny baby dragon.
Yeah. And I didn't play this one that much, but this thing sold 5 million copies worldwide.
Wow.
This was a big popular game, and they had Spyro, the original Spyro came out in 1998. Then they had Spyro 2, Ripto's Revenge in 1999, and then Spyro Year of the Dragon in 2000.
And was the gameplay fun on this guy? I never played this one.
It is. I mean, it's one of those kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like third person, slightly overhead, following Spyro around, and he goes and he blows fire on certain animals to kill them, quote unquote.
Or he can headbutt.
They turn into butterflies, or he can headbutt someone.
No, actually, this was a game I feel like was made for kids because the difficulty is not hard, and there's so many like flat lands the kids can just basically push forward on their controller and run around forever.
It's kind of an open world game, which was not normal then because developers only had finite pixels
resources
to work with. But they made this one much more open, and so you can goof around and fly around, and it's fun. It's a fun game. I do think it's wrong that he eats butterflies to regain health, but that's just my feeling on butterflies. But this one...
Defender of butterflies, huh?
Defender of butterflies. But this one I felt like was one that a lot of people would want on there, even if we didn't really play it as much. Did you play it that much, Kent?
I did, because I played it with my nephews, and they loved the game, and I'd be like, oh, play that one. I had every game, so I had this game and its sequels.
I guess that's true.
No, but actually...
Did you have 7,000 of them?
No.
Then you didn't have every game.
You're right.
I'm holding that fact.
So actually, Crash Bandicoot had a collection that came out last year with the 3 original games remastered for HD, and everyone was then asking for Spyro because Spyro was like the secondary mascot to Sony at the time, and it's now gone to every system. But it was made by Insomniac Games.
Well,
and that was quintessential to PlayStation, and now they are making a collection in HD for the PlayStation 4.
Well, and another unique thing about Spyro was the replayability factor.
Yes.
Because once you got all the way through the game, you could start over and then play in any world or realm and get like different eggs and gems and kind of get that, build up your score, like kind of like those, what are they called? Side quests.
Yes.
And then once you got 100%, you got a bonus level once you finally accomplished all those. So replayability was definitely good on this one. And it's a fun kid game. It's a fun family game.
Right.
Spyro, play it.
All right, the next game, and this is an essential one. This is a more animated fare, much like Spyro, but definitely not 3D. It's Parappa the Rapper.
Parappa the Rapper.
Parappa the Rapper.
Jacob, you remember this one from your opening?
I
do. That you were so passionate about?
I do.
Joel, when did this one come out?
1997.
97, so still pretty early in Sony's life. In fact, this one became another kind of mascot for the system.
Yeah, they really couldn't land on one for a while there, I feel like. They were kind of just jumping around like, this is our mascot. This is our mascot.
And then they found one with one that we're going to talk about in a little bit.
We'll get there.
So this one developed its first party game, so Sony and Nana Onsha, and it's a rhythm game.
People will consider it one of the first true rhythm games. So if you're a fan of like Guitar Hero or Rock Band or any of those types of games, this is kind of the grandfather to that.
Like, for example, someone will, like the Chop Master Onion will say, kick, and then you'll see the bar go,
Kick,
punch,
punch.
and you have to time it exactly right. And then you advance through the
and
levels.
there's a rhythm. Like, once you get the rhythm down, it's fun. But I also played with a lot of people who had no rhythm, and they'd just be like, kick, kick. And I'm like, no. You're ruining the rhythm of the song, man.
Help Parappa rap with the best of the master rappers and straight into Sonny's heart. Sonny is a sunflower, by the way, and he's a dog. He loved a sunflower. Guaranteed you'll be singing and dancing along with Parappa and his pals to make the most fun music mixes. This one sold 1.4 million copies, which for a rhythm game is pretty good at the time.
Well, especially since he's like a paper cutout of a dog. Like the graphics were a joke. It really was tongue in cheek.
Yes.
But it was the rhythm aspect, the rhythm game part. People were like, oh, that's fun. That's a fun way to play.
Yeah, so this one actually got 2 sequels. One's called Jammer Lammy, and then there was a Parappa 2 as well. They never quite captured the magic that was in the first game. But it is an essential Sony game.
Next up, we have Marvel Superheroes. Dun, 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 dun. So Marvel Superheroes, released in 1997, developed by Capcom. This was a hugely popular arcade game that came to the PlayStation, and man alive, I loved this game.
Is this like a precursor to Marvel vs. Capcom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because when you said this, I'm like,
so it was just a straight fighting game?
I thought it was a platformer for some reason.
Well, and this is the thing, guys. I'm going to tell you the story of this game, and essentially, it's Thanos is looking for the Infinity Gems.
Get out of here.
Yeah, this is a revolutionary story. Not many people have heard this, but Thanos is a character from Marvel. He's looking for these Infinity Gems.
No one knows about this guy.
And they're fighting to stop Thanos from getting all these Infinity Gems. This sounds very familiar nowadays, but back then, in 1997, this was underground.
Yeah.
But as you fought, like you were playing with these characters. It felt like you were playing a cartoon, essentially, because the animation was very smooth.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. You could play as
Wolverine, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, Psylocke, Shumagorath,
yeah.
Blackheart, Juggernaut, or Magneto. There's 2 there that I wasn't quite sure about.
Oh, Shumagorath was one of my favorite characters to play with.
What's Shumagorath?
He's like this octopus character with a single eye, but I loved it because when he got his... Because you'd play, and if you got an Infinity Gem, you could power up.
Okay.
Power up! And there were so many different, like... It was one of the ones that had little vocal cues in it. But one of the things is when you get the level up with him, you can grab people and take them to the Chaos Dimension. And he'd like spin around them, and like they'd be in this weird dimension for a bit, and they'd fall down. But it was a great move.
Marvel will probably have a standalone with that guy soon.
Pretty soon. But this game was loosely based on the Infinity Gauntlet storyline of the Marvel Universe.
Phase 4, yeah.
But this one was also one where you can get combo attacks, like I said, power-ups. This was just a fun game to play. And it was funny because they actually did some market research to determine what characters they should include. And the most popular, the ones they made sure to include were Wolverine, Juggernaut, Magneto, and Psylocke.
Yeah.
Which I was like, Psylocke?
Well, they needed a lady, and I guess Psylocke was their one. But, I mean, there's Storm, there's Rogue.
Yeah. But this one was just fun. Like, me and my brother would play this all the time and get mad at each other all the time.
Right.
But Ken, you played this one then? Or did you...
I played it in the arcade, but I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom after this.
Oh, man.
So I don't really remember this one very well.
And this is the precursor to that. And it was fun to have the Marvel vs. Capcom, because then you have Ryu fighting Captain America, which is so much fun. This was just straight Marvel, but it was straight up one of the best fighting games ever on the PlayStation.
It's kind of crazy they can't reproduce that success now, because you look at a game like Injustice, which is doing so well, but this kind of sounds like a early Injustice.
Yeah.
If you could like take them to the Chaos Dimension or whatnot, have these secret moves.
Well, and the secret moves, the combos, it was all also very PG, like very cartoony.
Okay.
Whereas Injustice definitely is much more dark, but I guess Marvel versus DC in that regard.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Marvel Superheroes. Look it up. Have some fun.
Dang, I want to buy this one.
Kid, do you know any good fighter games on the PlayStation 1?
In fact, I have one.
You do?
And there's going to be a few fighting games on this list, because fighting games were just... I mean, after Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter for the Genesis, Super Nintendo, fighting games just seriously took off because they could actually port actual arcade games onto systems.
Yeah, because they didn't have the technology before with the cartridges, but now with PlayStation, they could. And in fact, Kent's about to talk about the number 2 best-selling PlayStation game of all time.
Oh, number two? Wow. And my choice is...
Oh, wait, no, I lied. Sorry. Second best fighting game.
Okay. But it did
Fourth
sell...
best PlayStation game overall.
It did sell 8 million copies. It's Tekken 3. Not Tekken.
8 million, still a lot for PlayStation
Or Tekken
1.
2.
Yeah.
Actually, so Tekken and Tekken 2, I played those. They were
I
fine.
played Tekken 2 more than Tekken 3.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, like when I was looking them up, I was like, oh, it was Tekken 2 I played all the time.
Joel, you let me down. What does Tekken mean? You haven't told us.
Tekken?
Yeah.
It's
King of
actually
the Iron Fist.
It's Necket backwards.
Oh.
I have no idea what Tekken means.
Jacob's naked. Naked?
No, family friendly. Looking it up now.
No
we
one
can't
can
talk
see
about it.
anything. It's a podcast.
Yeah, they don't know I'm on a park bench.
Oh, it means Iron Fist.
Yeah, King of the Iron Fist.
Huh, it's Japanese.
Yeah.
Kent totally won that, actually. He knew.
So the back cover
That's
says...
weird. How did you know that?
This is one of my favorite games. I love Tekken 3. On the back cover it says, once again, fate brings together those who heed the call. That's all it says. So this game is your typical fighters, right? They're all copycats of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but they look much better in this game. In fact,
it's more of a 3D look. Like
Totally.
Even Marvel superheroes, it's flat 2D animation, whereas this was like the camera would move, the people were 3D.
Yeah.
They flopped around when you kicked them out of the ring.
totally. And so there was like a Bruce Lee type character. There was a white guy with a giant flat top that was a copycat of Guile, essentially. There was a wrestler with a cheetah mask or a puma mask.
Yeah, but they didn't have any super moves. Like no.
The game actually isn't about super moves. It's more about combos and countering, which is why I feel like it's the true fighter. In fact, I
No
still...
overkill.
Did you see that defenses pop up real quick?
This game's actually not about that stuff.
It's not about super moves, Joel, or fatalities. It's actually about real fighting. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And there is a...
Show you real fighting.
There's a dinosaur you can play as that you can box with, and you can fight as a giant robot, or a tree that mimics other people's fighting abilities.
I am Groot.
So it's a realistic game, obviously.
All right. So Tekken 3, why'd you pick that one?
I played this game all the time. It's still probably my favorite fighting game of all time. And there's like Tekken
Over
8
Street
at this
Fighter?
point.
Over Mortal Kombat 2?
Yeah, actually.
That's disgusting.
I know, I'm really sorry. Even over
That's strange.
Injustice.
That's disgusting.
I know. I love this game so much. And there's this cheap fighter named Eddie Gordo. Everyone who's played this game knows Eddie Gordo. He does capoeira, and everyone knows and hates capoeira because of this game. And all he does is just do like somersaults and spins on the ground.
Capoeira.
Yep.
Capoeira.
That. But I love this game. I put so many hours into it, and it's just a simple fighting game. But this was a great sleepover game. What?
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 I said simple, like you said.
Oh, don't be silly. Okay. But I love this game. In fact, I wish my PlayStation 1 still worked and I would play this game right now.
Get your buddy to build you one.
My buddy?
Yeah, get him to hack your PlayStation 4 to put a PlayStation 1 on there.
That was me.
I knew it. Why don't you do it?
I'll do it then. Fine, I'll do it.
Oh, hear that, FBI? I got him to confess.
Oh, no.
It was Kent. Joel, looks like our next one's written by Joseph Conrad.
Actually, I was very disappointed when I found out that the book Heart of Darkness had nothing to do with the PlayStation game Heart of Darkness.
You're like, Apocalypse Now is nothing like this kid's game.
So this was released in 1998, and this is one that I don't know if Kent have you heard of this one before I brought it up?
I've seen the cover. I've never, ever played it.
So this game was... Well, Kent, you want to read the back cover?
It's long. Here we go. Hidden away in the heart of darkness lies a terrifying world. A world ruled by the Master of Darkness, whose cruel and absolute power leads an army of emaciated devils. The fiendish force scours the land in search of Andy, a young boy on a quest to rescue his dog, Whiskey. Trapped in a terrifying nightmare, only you can take Andy through hundreds of epic encounters to overcome a whole host of wonderfully weird characters and emerge triumphant through the heart of darkness. Tell me about that, like, because it's a kid and his dog.
No,
right?
this game is all about the cinematics. This was one that had like this boy sitting in class and then some weird stuff starts happening. He's out in a park and his dog gets sucked up into this black hole and then he jumps in his spaceship, which he's previously built, and just flies up to because he's like a whiz kid.
What?
But then he goes up to this land and it's one of those. The animation on this is superb. They have these shadow creatures that kind of crawl along the ground towards you. And at first you have the kind of electric zapper gun, like a Ghostbusters gun, that you zap the creatures with. And then at one point you get swallowed by this huge Clayface-like monster. Like a frog, but he's giant like Clayface.
Okay.
And you get inside him and you're like, well, what do I do? And then you hit a button and he like hiccups and then you keep hitting it and like his stomach starts to glow. And then you come out of his gut just like... and he just melts out behind you. But it's all like kid animation. I mean, it's pretty. There's some gruesome deaths that happen.
Yeah, the description sounds a little dark, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, it is a little dark. But the animation is kind of just fun and lighthearted, so it's almost goofy when the kid dies. And this is one of those games you just keep respawning and respawning. But he's all about saving his dog who got kidnapped. This is basically
Whiskey.
John Wick. So
Wow, I love it now.
Yeah.
So was this Mikey's game? Because I want to know how you actually started playing this one.
no, this is one that I see. I'm big on the story games, like these kind of. This was a side-scrolling game,
Okay.
but it had the cinematics in it. But this was actually one of the first games, because whenever you conquer a game, and it's like, well, I remember I conquered Die Hard, the Die Hard trilogy.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Dan went through like tons of hours of trying to conquer that game. We get to the end, and it's like, well done, and then the credits roll, and I'm
That's
like,
it.
that's terrible. This one came with a pack of 3D glasses, and once you conquered the game, if you conquered it with in the right way, that you would put on the 3D glasses, and then you get to see a bonus cinematic in 3D using the 3D glasses.
What?
Now, granted, this is 1998 technology, so it was red and blue 3D glasses, but it was still
that's way cool.
it was, and it gave me something to kind of look forward to conquering a game. But I mean, from the music this had a score from television composer Bruce Broten. I don't know, but the music is actually really entertaining for this. But it's like you're playing a children's sci-fi fantasy movie. And I thought the animation was very clever. I thought it was creepy but fun at the same time. And it's one of those games you kind of have to figure out the puzzles as you go along. Like it's not just you're not just killing things. You have to figure out how to make certain things do what you want in order to moved to the next level. But overall, this is just a fun game. If you haven't seen it or if you haven't played it, I recommend at least looking it up just so you can see the style of animation, because it's very entertaining to look at.
So you talk about music, and I do think we need to mention the music in these games, because we play 8-bit music at the end of our shows and everything, but we talk about the 8-bit and 16-bit music tracks because that's all they could do. At this point, you had CDs, and they could do full symphony soundtracks.
Symphony of the Night.
Well, hey, that will come. We'll get there. But you had full scores for these games, and it was orchestras performing these.
Well, even like the vocals. Like there was actual noise. Instead of being like Brazil from Street Fighter 2, you actually get people saying things like level up.
Yeah, exactly. Or like full-on people speaking. As far as the scores in these games, this is where it got serious. This is where we could do more, and we're going to get a little more into that, especially with this next game, which I'm sure you haven't played.
No, I haven't even heard of this one.
It's called Xenogears.
I remember this one by name only, but
And maybe the cover. Xenogears was made by Squaresoft in 1998. This was one of the RPGs I played after the Final Fantasy series because I was really craving RPGs. And RPGs is role-playing game. And I don't mean like the massively multiplayer online games where it's just open world.
You mean rolling the die and being a
Exactly.
cleric and...
Exactly, with the game master and whatnot.
Yeah.
But RPG is basically, I mean, so many games use this element now, but you're a character. It was usually turn-based fighting. You know, the boring stuff where it's like fight, magic, defend, run.
You hit them, then you got to wait for them to hit you, and then you hit them, and you got to wait for them to hit you.
And I hated these kind of games growing up.
So why'd you put this one on the list?
I made fun of kids that played these games. Like I was kind of a bully. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, you got the fire sword? Real cool. That's awesome. And then I played them. And I was broken.
became them.
I became them for real. And Xenogears...
That's why he does turn-based dating.
Oh.
I throw compliment. It is rejected.
Hey, we've already done that show, and yes, I felt
I was going to say,
miserably.
we did have that show.
That's true.
But Xenogears is one of the best RPGs ever created. It's not as well known, clearly, as Final Fantasy, but the story, this is when I put 60 hours into it, easily. And it's probably a 100-hour game if you really want to take your time.
100 hours?
Yeah.
Jiminy Christmas.
I don't think I'll do it.
What's the plot of this one? Did you mention that already?
A mysterious organization is turning the tides of a century-long war with ancient technology. Giant combat robots known as gears, so it's a mech type game. A failed attempt to steal one of these powerful mechanized weapons places it in the unwilling hands of young Faye and his dubious allies. I love the word dubious.
Dubious.
Now he is pursued by military governments, royal pirates, spies, the emperor, and his own forgotten past. This game, and this is why, for me, you said you like story games, Joel.
I do.
These kind of games, and maybe this is why I like them, instead of the turn-based fighting, the stories here are books. You're basically playing a book. And I know it sounds so nerdy to say, but what's more fun than playing a book?
Nerd.
Dating?
Yeah, dating's nice. Joel, come on.
You called me silly.
Dating is not silly, but me playing these games and, you know, wearing Axe body spray.
I looked up a clip of this one, and it looked interesting enough, but it just, I don't know. It's just funny to see our different likes and different tastes in gaming, because I was like, it looks fine, but I don't know if it's my style.
Yeah, it's
But maybe
funny,
I should
though.
give it a chance.
This is one of those games, like, it's going to be hard to find, because I actually looked up the prices of these games now, and you could find just the disc maybe sold on its own for maybe $25. But if you want the original packaging for most of the games on this list, it's about $250.
Just rent them. And
From
then
where?
and then burn them.
From where?
From the renting store.
What's that?
Redbox.
Huh? Redbox for PlayStation 1 games?
Yeah, they have it.
They
now.
have one in the corner over there. You didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Oh, really? There's some
Yeah.
old school games that you can get?
Yep.
Dreamcast
Yeah, you have to go
games?
there at midnight and bury something in the crossroads, and then the red box will appear.
Don't say that because I'll do it.
That'd be awesome.
Offer a sacrifice.
Yeah. No, you have to put a Sega Saturn in the ground and bury it, and then a PlayStation 1 red box will appear.
I will so do that because you can buy a Sega Saturn for way cheap at this point.
Yeah, probably so.
But I love this game because it really just seems like, hey, I'm going to take down the government, and then like any RPG, you realize you're the chosen one.
FBI, did you hear that? Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
No. Oh no! Oh no! The FBI, don't listen, please. It was a friend of mine. He didn't know. He was young.
Right. You want to take down the government. You just said that.
No, this character.
You said it sounded really fun. I'm going to take down the government.
So this character, but here's the thing: this game actually becomes like this religious story, and it's almost like so mature. And I don't like mature like in terms of content, but it treats its audience with respect and saying, "Here's this widespread story that you were like honestly going to just 20 years after thinking about because it's that smart." Even though the graphics weren't super great. In fact, we should mention that the PlayStation 1 was 32-bit.
Yes, which was revolutionary at the time.
And it dominated the N64, which was twice the graphics.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was pretty interesting because it was only just barely better than the Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. But the games they had created and then the hardware became just monumental. Mm-hmm. So Xenogears, actually, so fun fact about this one, Famitsu, which is a Japanese magazine, which has been around for 40, 50 years, gave Xenogears the 16th best game of all time. And then readers of IGN gave it number 28 in 2008. So this one really is, it's a cult game, but people love it, including me.
Join a cult. Played Xenogears.
Are you satisfied with your
Take down the government.
montage of love for Xenogears now? You feel good?
I feel like I'm
Have you
writing a
got it?
love letter real quick to him, but I'll be playing the music in the background. That'll do enough.
a little bit at a disservice because I feel like I have to talk about these games as much as Kent talks about his games.
You don't.
Thank you.
You don't.
Okay.
I'll let you off the hook for
Thank
that.
you, Jacob. My next one is Bushido Blade. Kent, your turn.
Say it right.
No, my next it is Bushido Blade.
Bushido Blade.
Bushido Blade. This was released in 1997, and the name refers to the Japanese warrior code of honor, Bushido. Now, Kent, you were talking about realistic games before with Tekken.
Yeah.
Bushido Blade is the epitome of a realistic fighting game. No time limit.
Nope.
No health bar. If you hit someone in the right place, like one of the vital organs, they will die.
Well, it's almost like fencing, right? Because you both have swords.
You both have, well, it's not just swords. They have different types of swords. They have a katana, they have a nodashi, a longsword, a saber, a broadsword, a naginata, a rapier, and a sledgehammer.
What'd you call me? Naginata?
Sledgehammer. But this one was just kind of bizarre because it was unlike any fighting game I've ever played before. It was this 3D open world environment. You could just run away from your opponent if you wanted to. But if you get the right hit, you could disable an arm, or you could hit them in the leg, and they would be like they'd be crawling, trying to hit you back. Like this was one of those games that really kind of felt realistic and was weird because of it. Like it was just so fun to play. And I don't know this for sure. My little brother brought this up. I may have not even I may have not bought the entire game. It might have been on a sample CD that we had.
the demo disc.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember playing it all the time on there and thinking, this game is really cool. But I don't think we ever bought it now that I think about it. But it was a very difficult game to play. I mean, this wasn't one where you could do half circle, forward, back, punch, kick, and then you do a combo. You had to be in the right stance with the right weapon because each of the characters had a weapon that they were best at. And if you had the right weapon and you were in the right stance, you could do the right move. Otherwise, it was kind of, you could still fight,
And
but
it was kind of
wasn't
a
as powerful.
slow-moving game as well. Like you had to pull your sword back and then jab them at the right time.
Well, and also the soundtrack was very minimal.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of like you mostly just hear trees in the bamboo forest, and it was really fun though. Like I think the reason I put this on here because it was one that stuck out in my mind is that game is really different from a lot of these other games. So I chose Bushido Blade. Oh, one more thing. If you did a tactic that was considered dishonorable,
Which would be what?
striking a foe in the back, throwing dust in their eyes, or attacking while they bow at the start of fights, you'd be penalized.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's no honor in that.
There's no honor. And you could be first person too. Like it's third person like a fighting game, but you could actually be first person and put yourself right in the fighting position and fight the game.
Really?
Yeah, it was much more difficult because I kept getting like lost about where the person is, and then they'd stab me.
Good call. The next game on the list is my favorite racer, and I say my because we may talk about another one.
And for Kent's benefit, this is the #1 best-selling Sega or PlayStation game of all time.
Yes, so
This
selling
is
9.4 million copies.
Yeah.
This is Gran Turismo 2, developed by Sony and Polyphony.
Wait. Gran Turismo is the best-selling. #2 is the third best-selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much did the first one sell?
Well, I'd have to look it up. But I just had a list of like top-selling games.
Okay, so this one sold 9.4. First one may have sold a lot more. We'll just say it sold 13 million.
Oh, look.
Look up on Wikipedia. So this is a racing game, obviously, and the back cover says, the world's most advanced racing game returns with thunderous new features, and that's it. And then it just boasts about the cars. Yes, Joel?
10.85 million copies worldwide as of March 2013.
You know, it's kind of crazy. The system selling over 100 million, and then only like the highest selling game selling 10 million. But I guess there were like 7,900
There's so many
17
games.
other games to compete with. But Gran Turismo was one of those games that it's very simulation heavy, meaning it's not an arcade racer. It's not like you're hitting other cars along the way. You're driving a Porsche or Acura NSX down the road, and it's just a beautiful looking game for its time. Very jaggy at this point, but at the time it was like the best you could possibly get. But they wouldn't actually allow damage on the cars because the car makers said, like, if you're going to put our cars in your game, you can't damage them because we don't want to like discredit our own cars. But this game did have an arcade mode as well, and a rally racing one. I played the first one a little bit, but it's straight simulation. This one was better for like intro racing gamers, and honestly, this one is one that you just keep earning cars. Mm-hmm. It's one the replay value was just sky high. And granted, there are better racers now, but this one I honestly think set the bar for any racer following.
Including mine?
You decide.
Well, you put these in order and you put this above yours. So I got Need for Speed 2.
Number two specifically.
Number 2 specifically, because Need for Speed 1 came out in 96, number 3 came out in 98, and then they had one in 99, then they had Porsche Unleashed in 2000. And this was, to me, like, this was my racing game. Like, Gran Turismo I played, but Need for Speed, for some reason, I just connected to that one more. And maybe it's because it's a little more heightened reality.
Yes. Yeah.
Gran Turismo was very, very kind of reality based. This one, they had exaggerated race courses, and the cars could, were a little more beefed up. You could play with a Ferrari F50, a Ford GT90, a couple of Lotuses, like a Jaguar. Like, there was a bunch of cars there that I was like, oh, I like this car. And then you could always pull up the stats for the car and learn about it. And you could even start customizing some parts, which was really cool.
And once again, this was the system where you could actually tell what car you were driving.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a box or something like that.
Exactly.
But this one, you could race in Norway or in Australia or in Germany or in Greece or at Hollywood Film Studios. That was a fun one, derived through the Hollywood Film Studios. But it was exotic cars in these exotic locations, and I felt like... I really don't have a good reason as to why I connected to one racing game more than another. But
you don't need a reason for a racing game. Yeah. They're just fun.
They are just fun. And I'd say Gran Turismo was fun. Need for Speed 2 is a little more my game.
Yeah. One had a little more depth. One was just more of a fun arcade racer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, realism versus fantasy, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Well, not complete fantasy. We'll get to complete fantasy here in a sec.
Yes, we will.
But either way, you're enjoying a racer game, which is what they're for, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Okay, we're getting into the passion. Guys, we haven't been to the passion at Kent yet.
So all that you said about Xenogears was a lie?
No, it wasn't a lie. It was just like a prelude to what I'm about to say about these following games. Are you ready?
I'm going to set the timer.
This following game is the second survival horror game I ever played.
What was the first one?
Resident Evil 1.
Okay.
And I played, maybe another Resident Evil came before this one, but Silent Hill, which came out in 1999, was developed by Konami. And here's the back cover. Harry Mason and his daughter Cheryl are driving to their favorite vacation spot.
Boring.
Late that night, a figure suddenly appears from out of the darkness.
Okay.
Harry turns the wheel in panic and the car careens off the road, knocking Harry unconscious.
This is all in the back?
Cliche.
Awakening sometime later, he realizes that Cheryl is missing. Stumbling out of the wreckage, he heads towards a small town.
What font size was this in on the back cover?
A Silent Hill. This is Arial HD size 7.
Okay.
And then he found her.
All those font nerds out there are like, no, it's not.
It's Helvetica. It is Helvetica 11.
Then he found her being eaten by cannibals later. Is that what happened?
The funny thing about Silent Hill to me is that the developers actually used fog and darkness to cover up poor graphics.
Yes.
There's a lot of fog and a lot of darkness. In fact,
Because-
most of the game
yeah.
you're walking around with nothing but a flashlight.
Yeah, these games, the frame rates couldn't go very high, so they covered the whole town in fog. And it was very clever because it made the whole thing creepy, especially when little midget children are chasing you with knives.
Little midget children.
Yes,
that's
no, like
extra
that's,
short.
that's very small.
That's very short.
You are in an elementary, and all of a sudden, midget children come after you with knives.
I don't think that's the politically correct term. They probably have a name for them in the game.
Little people children?
Sure. Little people children.
I guess children would be enough because you could just get confused.
Maybe. But this is one of those games that, in other these survival horror games, you were like the mercenary or the cop or something like that. And this one, you're just a dude with a flashlight.
You're a dude with a flashlight and a radio. This game has some of the worst dialogue and voice acting of all time.
Really? It's that bad?
Watch some videos. It's amazing.
Okay.
Huh? Radio? What's going on with that radio? That's basically what it is.
Oh, nice.
You're a cop? It's basically Keanu Reeves trying to do voice acting for a video game. Whoa. But I love this game. I find it terrifying and heartbreaking at the same time. I'm just going to spoil one part. You go to a hospital. And by the way, there's some Silent Hill movies, and they're just terrible, right?
Right.
And you
Most video game movies are.
Like, yeah, you're right. Most of them. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've talked about this before.
We have.
But you've probably seen the visual of the nurses without like covered faces.
Yes.
Or no faces, and they have like scalpels. And they move like those ghosts, like kind of really staticky and everything, and they try to stab you. That's from this game. And you go to the hospital because it's one of the locations, and you find a nurse who's alive. Her name is Lisa, and you're talking to her, and you're like, "You need to
You
get out of
remember
here."
her name? Lisa.
This is my
Her
childhood.
name is Lisa.
So you're talking to her, and she's locked in this room. And you're like, Lisa, you need to get out of here. There's something going on with this town.
Run,
I'm not
Lisa,
sure what
run.
it is, even though you're surrounded by
I
monsters.
love you,
right?
Lisa.
And then all of a sudden, she's like, okay, go get the key. You go get the key, and you come back, and you finally walk in the room. And then all of a sudden, Lisa's face just starts bleeding.
Oh, no.
And turning zombified like
Poor
everything else in
Lisa.
Silent Hill. And she dies right in front of you and becomes hellish like this town. And that's what's so scary about this game is because it's a normal foggy town, and then all of a sudden you hear the siren go, brrrr, and then all of a sudden you go to like the seventh circle of hell. And it is terrifying. Graphics are terrible, but the reason this game is so scary is because you don't have a machine gun. You're a guy with a flashlight and maybe 2 bullets. Silent Hill.
Do you have a gun or just the 2 bullets and you throw them at people?
You put them in your mouth and you spit them.
Like UHF.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This game still terrifies me, and it is not as good as the sequel, which is on PlayStation 2, which hopefully we'll talk about another time. But still, this series, like Silent Hills, which is the PT demo. I had you played PT
Remember?
last week,
Yeah,
right?
you did.
That was meant to be the follow-up for Silent Hill. And I really wish it were because I love the mythology of this town of Silent Hill.
Right?
So good.
All right, Joel, tell us about Oddworld Abe Yaspi's Odyssey.
Yeah, good call.
Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, released in 1997. This is actually this is when once again I was talking to my brother Mike about this. Hey Mike, what's up? And we were discussing whether we played this on the PlayStation or whether we played this on the computer.
Okay.
Because we may have done both, but I'm trying to remember which one we played it mostly on. But this is about a creature named Abe, who's a Mudokon,
Don't call him that. He's a nice guy.
and he's a slave at Rupture Farms meat processing factory. And they make all sorts of these different types of pies there, but they're running out of supply. And then Abe, who's a janitor, I believe, goes in the back room and discovers that their next plan is to use his race of people, the Mudokons, as their next food.
Yeah, his tagline says, savior or salami.
Well, that's a good way to kind of represent this game because it's got this weird tongue-in-cheek humor to it. The animation once again is very similar. It's actually a little better than
It's a really good animation.
Heart of Darkness.
Yes.
But you're this creature in this weird world, and there's all these odd other creatures that you have to deal with, like what are they called? Sligs and scrabs and paramites. But it's just one of those weird, fun games where you're this little Abe guy who's just like, wait. Like that's what he says to people when he has to save people, because he has to go and save all the other slaves and free them from the meat factory before they become meat pies. And he discovers that he has this ability to do mind control, because there's these sligs that run around. They're kind of these squid-looking creatures that walk on 2 legs and carry guns and have a mask.
Yeah.
And you can mind control them and then use them to kind of go around and kill the other people so you can get past the level. But it's all about puzzles. Once again, it's all about problem solving because you get these lemmings basically of these other slaves who don't know how to take care of themselves, and you have to help them find their way to freedom. And another fun thing about this game is that if you have to save at least 50 Mudokons in the course of the game to get the happy ending. If you don't, you end up becoming meat, basically. But if you do, then you're saved. And so I didn't know that. So I got to the end and I'm like, hey, I made it. Who cares if all those other people died? And it was like,
saved 48.
Yeah. And then it's like, no, you didn't do good enough. This is the bad ending. And so I had to play it all over again just to get that.
Oh, man.
This was criticized for its steep learning curve because it's
a tough game.
It's a tough game. And also the fact that you could only save at checkpoints, which meant you could get really, really far. But if you didn't make the checkpoint, you were starting at the very beginning of the level, which is so frustrating.
And what if you had your 8 spaces on your memory or 15 spaces on your memory card already used up?
Oh god.
Yeah,
I forgot about
15
that.
slots on your memory card.
When you didn't have enough memory.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I have to go buy another memory card for $25 and it could only do 15 save files.
Yeah. But this is just a fun game. It's a weird game, and there's a lot of like story involved in it.
It's so entirely unique, though.
But
like,
it
this
is.
one belongs on the list for sure.
Yeah, like I remember when he's sitting there doing his mind control, he just goes, and he makes this weird noise. And it's just one of those things that stuck in my head, and I just have always remembered just that game. Even though I played it and conquered it and I was done with it and went on to other things, this game stuck with me.
Is that why you sometimes make that noise when you're trying to tell Jake and I to do something?
Yeah.
You.
I was just going to say Marvel sucks, and I realized I probably shouldn't say that.
You already did. Okay, so I talked about Silent Hill as one of the best survival horror games, but the best one, and this one is not as scary, but oh man, is this the complete package. It's Resident Evil 2.
Now, this is the first one that made it big.
Leon!
It is. Yeah, Leon Kennedy.
Leon!
Claire Redfield. You could play as either character.
Well, and this one had different stories for each character, or different puzzles,
So it had
I
two
guess.
discs.
Yeah.
Each character had their own disc, and you were playing through the same basic spots, but you would affect the game depending on who you played as first.
Yeah. This is the most successful Resident Evil game for a single platform, selling over 1
Even
million
now?
copies on PlayStation. That's what it said. Wikipedia, source of knowledge of truth.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So this one came out in 1998, and obviously this follows the first game, which also has terrible voice acting, but it says, so basically, zombies took over a mansion because of this corporate, toxin, essentially. So they say, now it's the worst possible nightmare. A new virus runs rampant. All of Raccoon City is infested. Bloodthirsty zombies, hideous mutations now overwhelm the community. When Leon and Claire arrive in town, their nightmare is just beginning. You now control their destiny. This game is so cool and so tightly paced because you're just running through hallways and then something will burst through the hallway and it will be like a liquor.
A what?
A liquor?
What?
Which is kind of like
a bottle of the no-no liquid?
No-no liquid?
No-no
Tell us more about that. Was that a lesson?
It's a no-no.
It was just this creature with a giant tongue, obviously. Kind of looked like Venom with an exposed brain.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. It wasn't just zombies. It was everything.
Hold on, let me Google liquor.
Please don't.
Okay.
Not in my Wi-Fi here.
Okay.
That would be fine. But this game
The Bacon Cave has filters.
right? It was an action-packed zombie game, and the zombies just kept coming back. It's so cool, and it's one of those games. And Joel, you played Resident Evil enough, right? Mm-hmm. Where you open a door, you get to a door, and you open it, and then the game stops because it has to load the next screen.
Yes.
And the door goes, and then you're always afraid of what's going to be behind the door.
Yeah. Just like when Kate goes on dates.
I just kind of walked right into that one, huh?
Yeah.
Wait, like they see me?
No, I was going to say... No,
Oh, thanks, pal.
You're welcome.
That's a compliment to me. I will take that.
I don't know if it's a compliment.
It's not exactly a compliment.
I just was
no.
commenting on the anticipation of dating and the perception versus reality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That was deep. Coming from Resident Evil 2 to that.
That's what I do.
That was really insightful.
Well, and how do you think this stacks up compared to all Resident Evil games?
Still, okay, look, I just beat 7, which is first person, very creepy. The best one is probably Resident Evil 4.
That's my favorite.
Because it was just, once again, Leon Kennedy.
Leon! With that little girl.
Oh. But that one is on further consoles like the GameCube
Yeah.
and the PlayStation 3 and
That's
2.
why I played it
think.
on the GameCube.
And that one is just fantastic. This one is probably a close second.
Okay.
The graphics are much, much worse than 4.
Yeah, but still, at the time, they were really, really creepy.
Yeah. Whew, I love this game so much.
Nice.
And all these games, let's be honest.
We need to play a game like that around here, but just one we made up.
Like, really? What do you
Yeah.
mean? Like in real life?
Yeah.
Is this
maybe choose your own adventure, something like that? Joel looks confused.
I'm wondering why Jacob wants to act out this fantasy of shooting people in real life.
Yeah, because he did say he didn't play
No,
PlayStation
I'm
1.
not,
Yeah,
I'm not,
video
I'm not going to
games.
do it. You
That's
guys,
what I'm worried about.
It'll be you guys acting it out.
Jacob,
I'm just
you're
going to
not
write
my
the script.
puppet master. So mine, I'm going to do now is because I'm radical. I chose Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
The legend rides on.
Tony Hawk, if you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, you know who Tony Hawk is because he was the coolest guy. I mean, even now, the guy's still like an icon. People still look at him
Actually,
as kind of
have you seen his Twitter?
No, I don't follow him on Twitter.
He's kind of like self-promoting. He like pats himself on the back still. Even though it's been a long time since this game, he's like, the other day I went to the store and someone said, hey, are you Tony Hawk? And I was like, yeah, I'm Tony Hawk. That's like his Twitter.
Wait. So affirming that you're the person that they think you are is
Yes.
self-congratulating.
He just wants to say that he was recognized in
Hey, are you
public.
Ken from Baconsale? I am.
Let me tweet about that.
But no, I think that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and it is on many, many lists, is one of the greatest games in PlayStation history. And some say one of the greatest games of all time. Because they had an original Pro Skater, and it was fine, and it did well. But this one, they improved on the graphics and the gameplay and added like cash rewards and things like that. And this one also had a really good soundtrack.
He was great.
Like you get bands like actual music from bands like Rage Against the Machine and Bad Religion, Naughty by Nature, Papa Roach. Like all these different bands that were like rap and hip hop that would play in the background as you were skating.
Did you have a favorite skater?
Did I have a favorite skater?
Yeah.
Tony Hawk.
I was Bob Burnquist all the way.
Bob
Did you ever-
Burnquist?
Yeah, he was great.
No.
He had excellent handling.
But
Of the skateboard.
well, this game gave me so much anxiety when I played it because you have like a 2-minute time limit.
Yeah.
To accomplish 10 tasks, like a
they
rail
do the
slide,
most
and a
ridiculous
flip,
stunts ever.
and then you have to like gather all the letters to the word skate, and all in 2 minutes. And I'd watch that timer tick down. And actually, Mike pointed this out. He's like, if you don't get that first trick, you just start the level over.
Yeah.
you can't waste any
It's
time.
when you go
on
down
this.
the ramp and you're going to go through the factory right there.
Yeah.
I think that's on the first one. Yeah, you have to restart the game if you don't get that trick.
Yeah, and this is one of the highest rated video games of all time. Not just PlayStation, one of the highest rated video games of all time. People loved this game, and Mike probably played this one more than I did, but I did enjoy it when I played it, and I have no problem with it being on our approved PlayStation 1 game list.
Seriously. Did it feel like it taught you how to skateboard? Did you feel like you
No.
could skateboard after this?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, the grip of physics was a bit loose on this
bit.
game. Like you could do
Everything
some
is a
things-
rail slide, basically. In
Basically,
this game.
I thought, rail slide's going to be totally easy. It's not easy.
No, it's
You
super.
get so many points for
It
rail
involves
slide.
friction and road rash. But Tony Hawk, this game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, it's a real fun one. If you can get your hands on to playing this one, which that's the thing, I feel a little weird saying if you can play this one, play it. Because where do you even find PlayStation 1 games nowadays?
Someone has them.
I
In
mean,
their mom's basement, maybe.
The Raspberry Pi, has all the other games, but like when you get up to PlayStation level, even N64 level,
Then you just have to get the digital download, like on the PlayStation, Store. Yeah.
so
if
yeah,
you can find it, yeah.
if you can find it, yes.
All right, the next game I'm a little bit passionate about. The other ones,
yeah?
I'm not super sure, but this one
Finally, you're going to wake up a little bit.
definitely counts.
Sounds good.
This one, I think, belonged on the Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo based on how it looked, because it didn't seem like a PlayStation game. In fact, when I rented this one from Blockbuster Video, which is an old video store, I don't know if you remember this place. It was before you sacrificed Sega Saturns to rent the mystery red box.
Oh,
I
to make the
remember
red box
Blockbuster.
come up out of the ground. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that were true. I want a reality where that's true. I rented this one and I was like, wow, this game seems really like old school, and it's Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Symphony.
Blah, blah, blah.
Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
Blah.
As a descendant of Dracula, you must end the vampire bloodline. Can you rid the world of this unspeakable terror? Uncover the mystery of Castlevania and challenge an adventure as legendary as its name. Now, Joel, you and I may disagree because I know you love Simon's Quest.
I do enjoy Simon's Quest.
Castlevania 2.
Yes.
This is the best Castlevania game ever created.
I'm not going to fight you on that.
Oh, really?
Well, just because I know that a lot of people are passionate about different Castlevania games.
Right.
Like, even this one did so poorly initially because they did not market it. They didn't really put it out there. And it was only because of word of mouth of how much people like this game that it became the cult classic that it is now.
So this one you play Alucard, which is Dracula backwards. You get it? Kind of like Tekken Neck It.
Yeah. Oh, now I get it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
Yeah.
Good heavens.
And this one, it was side scrolling, just like the old Castlevanias. And the Nintendo 64 this time was trying 3D Castlevanias, and they bombed. Nobody liked them. The game mechanics were terrible. This one stayed to what worked and was amazing. And not only was this like a 4-hour Castlevania games like the other ones, this one was probably 20 hours. And then when you beat the game, you didn't beat the game because the castle turned upside down. And you had to beat the castle.
And you had to find 11, and you had to make sure that...
Kind of. And you couldn't get 100%.
The Demogorgon was there.
And you couldn't get the 100% or the good ending unless you beat both castles. And it was, and it really was upside down. This game is so great. And I still use lines from the opening dialogue of this game. In fact, you meet Death, and Death says, "Your words are as empty as your soul."
Is that Skeletor?
Yeah, because he's Death. I still say your words are as empty as your soul.
To
on a
whom?
regular basis.
To whom?
I know
To
I've
you.
said it to you before.
I don't know if
Even though your soul's pure and kind.
Oh, thank you.
Your words are pure and kind, just like your soul. Jake?
Weird.
Your words are as empty as your soul.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. I love Castlevania Symphony Night. This one has been re-released on every system, but they haven't really touched the graphics. They just kind of re-release it because everyone knows it's perfect as is.
Perfect.
If you can find this on the PlayStation Store or even the Xbox Store, please pick it up.
Castlevania.
Symphony of the Night.
Is it, what number is it? 3? 4?
No, this is like 7. There are so many
it?
Castlevanias on the other systems.
Oh, wow. For mine, I'm going with one of the most iconic PlayStation games out
Haven't
there.
heard of this one.
Hoodabaga.
Is that what he says?
Nice.
Hoodabaga. That's what I said whenever he got
Hoodie
the
be
mask.
gone.
Hoodabaga.
Hoodabaga.
Yeah, not hoodie be gone.
I'm joking.
Hoodabaga.
Oh, here's a sun, father. Here's a lion. A lion. Oh, a lion.
Crash Bandicoot. The Crash Bandicoot collection with Kent. I have a confession to make.
Okay.
And I'm not proud of this.
You've never played Crash Bandicoot.
No, I played Crash Bandicoot. I had no idea that a bandicoot was an actual animal.
Oh, I didn't either.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh, well, I mean, with my knowledge of Australia and exotic creatures.
Exactly. They wanted something like Sonic the Hedgehog.
By the way, a hedgehog, Sonic looks nothing like a hedgehog.
No, what? They're not blue and wear tennis shoes?
So the Bandicoot looks nothing like a Bandicoot.
No, but for a while there, they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. And so they were thinking about the Tasmanian Devil or, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog. And eventually they had the Wombat, the Portaroo, and the Bandicoot as options. And they called him actually Willy the Wombat for the longest time. That's what's in production. The character was called Willy the Wombat.
Yeah.
But they always knew it was terrible, and they didn't really want to do that name. But eventually, it became Crash Bandicoot. And a Bandicoot are a group of about 20 species of small to medium-sized terrestrial marsupial omnivores in the order Paramelamorphia.
Oh, mm-hmm.
They're
Did
little.
they die instantly when they touch water? Like,
Right?
That could have been
so
good.
lame.
Well,
Yeah.
that could have been because of the mutation that they did. Because the doctor, Dr. Nitrous Brio, and Dr. Neocortex and his henchman, Dr. Nitrous Brio, they zapped animals in order to make them evolve quicker and give them super strength and wear pants abilities.
I like that you're talking about this as if this is history.
Yes, this is history. But then I didn't know some of these things. Like I had no idea they were called what are they? Wumpa fruit. Like I thought they were just apples that he picks up. And actually, they put those apples in there because they couldn't put enough villains. They couldn't put more than one villain on the screen at the same time.
Really?
And so they had like these dead areas where nothing happened. So they added the apples to kind of give people stuff to do, and then they added the boxes to give people
No
stuff to
way.
do.
That's a fun fact.
There you go. This one game, the original Crash Bandicoot, sold over 6 million units. So it was the 8th selling best PlayStation game of all time. And then they had Crash Bandicoot 2 in 97, Crash Bandicoot Warped in 98, Crash Team Racing in 1999, and Crash Bash in 2000. But Crash Bandicoot, this game was bizarre because at times it was side-scrolling, at times it was front-scrolling, at times it was back-scrolling. Like you were moving all around. Most of the time, though, you were walking towards the screen and had something behind you, or you were walking up and
Right, like chasing you or whatnot.
yeah, usually like a giant Indiana Jones-style giant stone ball chasing you, and that's so stressful.
So good.
And this game was so stressful.
You got to watch out for the TNT or the Nitro.
Oh, I'd get so mad. And this was the game that me and my brother, we would play, and we came up with a phrase because one of us would get really kind of frustrated at the game and throw it on the paddle, and the other one would just say, "Patience, my son, patience." And it became a thing during that game, and now it has actually bled into our everyday life. So you tell people your words are as empty as your soul.
Indeed.
And my brother and I, whenever we get frustrated at anything in life nowadays, one of us will always be like, patience, my son, patience.
It's all from Crash Bandicoot.
From Crash Bandicoot.
In fact, one thing I love is, sorry, this is jumping a couple generations, but in Uncharted 4, you actually, it's made by the same developer,
It's Naughty Dog, yeah.
Yeah.
You're playing the game, and it's like a realistic type game about an adventure, much like a Tomb Raider sort of game. And he plays a PlayStation. He plays the original Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
It's such a cool throwback.
Which that was fun to see.
Yeah.
And you actually get to play Crash Bandicoot in the game.
So awesome.
Which was a lot of fun.
And you can pick these all up now. They've been remastered in HD.
Yeah. And when you ever get the Aku Aku mask, it's going to go "Hootabaga" when you put it on. And then you get like one extra
That
hit.
makes no sense out of context.
I actually own that digital collection now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not for me though. It's for my wife. She really likes this game, but I don't like her playing it when I'm around because she gets so mad.
It gets so frustrating.
I'm like, I don't
my
get
daughter.
why you like
Patience.
it. I'm like, this
Exactly.
is
You say
infuriating.
child? No, I totally agree, Jacob. Like, this is one that I have a hard time playing because I get so angry so quickly.
Yeah.
Also, it's just funny to me that they took this ripoff of Sonic the Hedgehog and put him in Donkey Kong Country and came up with a game, their own game.
Yes.
Like, it really
And
was.
it became the mascot and marketing for PlayStation at that time.
And it really was. It was inspired by Donkey Kong Country. They decided to go with the
Did
jungle
we get
setting.
sales on this one? This one had to have sold a ton.
Yeah, 6 million on just that first one. 6 million on just the first one.
And the sequels were great as well.
Let's just skip this next one, Kent.
Please no.
You don't even care about this one, I'm
Please
sure.
no. I rented this following game from Blockbuster as a joke because I didn't like RPGs. This game changed me into the gamer I am now, where I loved the geekiest type of games.
Second best-selling PlayStation game of all time.
I actually went out that one, even though I had rented this from Blockbuster and I had it for 5 days, I just went and bought it because I knew I'd want to keep it.
You should probably tell
You didn't
everyone
even
what this
burn it? You
game
bought
is.
it?
Yeah, actually, no. Here's the thing, Joel. My friend, let's go back to that story. My friend, when he wanted to support certain developers or games, he would buy the games from all the profits he made from pirating them.
Let me be noble in this regard and help this
yeah.
poor soul out while I have 50 other DVDs burning in the process right now.
It's so true. Final Fantasy VII. This is the game that changed everything for me.
And this was the last Final Fantasy, right?
No, actually. It's number 7.
How many
They're
are
not
there?
going to stop there. They're at 15.
Oh.
Yeah, 15 of these.
How many of the 15 have you played?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, not 11, 12, 13, 15.
Can't count very
Are
well.
you actually adding right now? Or
No,
you
I'm
just-
counting the ones I've played.
You've played
I know, but
13
how
out of
many
15?
was
I've
that?
not played 14, 11, 1, 2, or 3. So I have played 10 of the 15.
Math
And
is
how many
hard.
have you conquered? All 10?
9.
Wow. What was your GPA in college?
No,
Just
college.
Just relating to studying.
No,
here.
this is high school. This is 3.3 somehow. If I focus a little bit more.
3.3, nice.
Yeah, pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's very good.
For dedicating all my time. I mean, honestly, I worked at a water park all day, and then if I didn't have yeah, thank you again. If I didn't have a girl to hang out with, which I often did because I was semi-handsome back then.
You're
and
Miss
tan.
Maple.
Mr. Maple.
Mr. Maple.
Not Miss Maple, Mr. Maple.
Miss Maple.
I would come home and play video games until the early hours of the morning because I was a teenager and
When did
nothing
you
mattered.
sleep?
It's kind of like my sleep schedule now. I've always been like this. It's pretty sad. But Final Fantasy VII, the back cover says, an epic adventure across 3 CD-ROMs. If that doesn't inspire excitement, I don't know what will. What begins as a rebellion against an evil corporation becomes much more. And what erupts goes beyond imagination.
Can you guys imagine having to switch disc out to continue to play a game today?
That'd be weird.
Isn't that crazy? And CD-ROMs, of
Yeah.
all things.
Yeah.
Guys, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again.
You're passionate about this one?
I'm sitting on a couch and I'm playing the end of the first disc. I'm maybe 20 hours into this game. And I remember this exactly because my mom came down. She started vacuuming really loudly and I was angry because I'm 16 years old and I'm like, Mom, get out of here. I'm playing this game. And then all of a sudden the cinematic started and the woman in the game who I'm in love with, her name is Eris, goes to the temple to pray. And because she's an ancient and that's what she does. And Cloud, your main
He's
character.
really doing this now.
I see this.
You're the main character, Cloud, who has big spiky hair, big blonde spiky hair, and a giant sword that's very, very Japanese. You go up to see
How do you know if a sword's Japanese?
everything in the game
Don't
is very
slow him
Japanese.
down right now, Joel.
You go up to check on her, see if she's okay, and you see her praying. Then all of a sudden, you notice Sephiroth, the villain of the game, with a giant long sword
Japanese sword, Joel.
coming down. It is a Japanese sword. He comes down from the ceiling, and impales her as she's praying.
And your mom's vacuuming as this is
And
happening?
she's vacuuming, and I was a little distracted, but I'm like, wait, no, Mom, get out of here, Mom,
Mom, I'm having emotions.
Don't look
Leave
at
the
my
room.
face.
I'm like, you gotta go,
Mom, there's water coming out of my eyes.
you ruined my game. Let me just be with my game. And I'm seriously only a third through this game, and the lead female in the game had just been killed. And it's not like a game where you like killed, game over, reset. She had been killed as a character and never comes back. Gentlemen, I cried that day. I cried for a video game character when I was 16 years old. I hadn't cried for maybe 7 years previous.
You used all your tears up that day, didn't you?
I did. I cried about this.
So it's Artex
and Eris in Final Fantasy VII.
Eris.
In fact, I've made friendships based on that moment in this game. Like in high school, I'd be like, hey, you like games? It's like, yeah, what games do you play? I like Resident Evil and Final Fantasy. What? Final Fantasy, where are you at? It's like, oh, I just got to the part with Eris. And it's like, we're best friends forever.
Wow.
It's a strange... Look, I'm saying too much about myself. This is like Dr. Matt should be here right
I feel
now.
like he should be. Dr.
Yeah.
Matt, why don't you come on out?
Yeah, come on out here.
I knew it. I knew
Tell
you
us
waited
about
till this moment. But I cried in this game. And this game taught me that some actions in games are permanent and stories can be fantastic. Sephiroth is still one of the greatest video game villains of all time. I love this game.
You know, we decided to go with a theme of emotional moments in games, and this next game, it made me feel so emotional. It's Jet Moto 2 from the PlayStation 1. I mean, you can play with characters like Lil Dave and Blade and Technician and Gadget and Vampira and Hun. Wild Ride.
Wild Ride was the best.
And then Steel and the Max and the Bomber. You used hover bikes.
Let me get you a tissue, Joel. Hold on.
Thank you. You used hover bikes and you go around tracks, and it was fun.
You're a monster. You're a straight up monster.
I just felt weird going from this big emotional moment to Jet Moto 2.
Jet Moto 2 is freaking sweet.
It is freaking sweet, but Jet Moto 1 came out in 96, Jet Moto 3 came out in 99, this one came out in 97. But you're using hover bikes, you're running around these race courses, and it's like motocross, but like hyped up motocross, hyper real motocross. You're gliding over water, land, it doesn't matter. You're going off these giant cliffs. You use like magnetic hooks to spin around corners.
Very essential.
And it was rough. Like you play in all these different areas too, like the Slick Rock Gorge or Meltdown or Arctic Blast or Roller Side.
I remember these tracks
Schnell.
like right now. I want
Like
to play
just
this
the
game
noises,
right now.
like the noises. And they had real sponsors in this, which was
Mountain
so
Dew?
bizarre to me. Yeah, like Mountain Dew, Jet Ski, Dragon Optical. They had all these real things in there. In fact, Chef Boyardee sponsored this game, but they didn't want to put it on any of the bikes, so they put it like billboards. So as you're driving by, you'll see a Chef Boyardee billboard. And it was
I
always,
guess a hover bike sponsored by with Chef Boyardee on the side would be a little weird.
yeah, that would be a little weird.
Unless it was like a themed bike, right? Like the rider looks like Chef
Or
Boyardee.
ravioli face.
Which would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
would.
But then, I mean, you're flying along, and this thing was super fun to play, and I loved finding like the shortcuts.
Yes.
like when you break through a house to get through the river level, or flying down a cliff and then hitting the hook just right, the magnetic hook just right, so you could flip around. But this one, and I want to read this because this is a scandal
Let's
that I'm
hear it.
about to break on Baconsale.
About Jet Moto 2.
Try to do it
And
without
about
crying.
Jet Moto 2. Don't bring it up again, Ken. It's Jet Moto 2. In order to conserve CPU cycles for other things, the developers use gameplay recordings in place of fully developed racer AI. As a result, most AI racers have a perfect run, and any mistakes made by the player result in a quick loss of top racing positions.
Yep.
They made perfect racing opponents, so you could never win this game.
What?
It wasn't my fault that I came in last place.
Patience, my son. Patience.
But this one actually, it was real cool because they had the original 10 tracks, but then you could unlock all the tracks from the original Jet Moto 2.
So you could never win a race against AIs?
Not unless you didn't
Rarely.
make any mistake. And like it was
As Wild Ride, I could. But
well,
that's
and
just
people
me.
people loved this game, but criticized
Show off.
the difficulty level because it was very hard to master. But man, this game was fun, and it had this kind of a fun soundtrack behind it too as you were playing. I just liked this game a lot, and it just really made me the man I am today.
All right, over to you, Kent.
We're down to our final two.
Good luck not crying for this one, too.
This game brought emotions to me. but I'm not going to cry.
Like Jet Moto.
Nothing like Jet Moto, let's be honest. But this one was like, I was finally...
So this is your number one recommendation. Is that what this is?
This is.
Okay.
Well, and
then we'll have Joel's number one recommendation.
This top 3, Kent and I both agreed on as essential ones.
Oh, totally.
I didn't play a lot of Metal Gear, but I played this Metal Gear.
Oh, you mean the sequels or anything like that?
Yeah. I didn't really play them, but Metal Gear Solid, I played.
The game is Metal Gear Solid. Came out in...
Just said.
I know, but you said it passively. We have to give it like a big announcement.
Yeah, this is his...
Jet Moto 2.
Developed by Konami. It was released in
1998?
1998. It's an action-adventure stealth game. This game is very misleading. In fact, I just bought this one because I heard so much hype, expecting to just do like the straight action game. And I realized I was hiding in a cardboard box. Or hiding behind a pillar.
No,
Or people trying to find my footprints. And I'm like, this is boring.
No, but it's a stealth game. It's one where you didn't have to kill everybody, and you probably shouldn't try to kill everybody because he dies really easy. And then you hear that lady screaming, "Snake! Snake! Snake! Snake!"
You are Solid Snake. In fact, I will read this. It says, you are Snake, a government agent on a mission to regain control of a secret nuclear weapons base from terrorist hands. This game seems like a Rambo, sort of a commando type game. In fact, it's based off of, the character's based off of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
Which
Is it really?
Yeah.
He's Solid Snake. What's his opponent's name, Kent?
Liquid Snake. Your twin brother, Liquid Snake, who has a British accent.
Just wait till Gas Snake comes out.
The series gets strange, even in this game. But this game really just, I would say, changed gaming. So Hideo Kojima, who was a main developer at Konami at that point, not anymore, he made this game with a master touch. The graphics aren't even that great here, but the gameplay changed everything, I feel, for stealth games like Splinter Cell or any military game that came after.
Yeah.
This changed, or Last of Us even. This changed everything. And so what this game does is, you know, it tells the story. You're going through this base and you have these like walkie-talkie conversations with all these characters. And there's betrayal. I mean, there is, espionage in every way. The villains have this grand
There's really
scheme.
stupid soldiers.
And, you know, convenient cameras and whatnot. But everything in this game, like the story plays out perfectly, and it's a smart game. In fact, Joel, there's a moment, and I'm sure you remember.
I was going to bring it up if you weren't going to.
Where the game just totally freaks you out. Could you explain?
Well, so most games you play and you just got to figure out the right hit combination.
If there's a boss battle.
If there's a boss battle and you get through it, it's fine. This game broke the fourth wall, and it messes with you. And I mean, I don't know how might as well spoil it, but
I'll get into it. There is a character named Psycho Mantis, and he is a gas mask wearing freak. And he floats around the room, and he'll throw couches and lamps at you. And you try to shoot him, and he will block you at every instant.
He can sense your every move. There's no getting through.
And he'll monologue the whole time, and he'll say, "Oh, Snake, I see what you're trying to do." And he goes, "I see you play a lot of Contra." And you're like,
he'll look at your memory card and start
the game
talking
character
to
can
you.
read your memory card. And you're like, wait, what? I see you played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Oh, you like those kind of games, huh? And you're like, please stop doing this. This is creeping me out. And the guy's creepy enough. It's like a horror boss battle.
But then,
and he gives you hints, and you can't beat him unless
you actually pull out your controller from the player 1 port and stick it in the player 2 port. And then suddenly you can beat him. He can't read your mind anymore because he's looking through player port 1. So you actually have to physically move your controller to the other port.
Which would reset any other game.
Yeah.
But not Metal Gear Solid.
It was mind-boggling when all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? Like,
how did you decide? How did you figure out how to do that?
He gives you clues, or you look it up on the internet.
Yes.
On Yahoo or webcrawler.com.
Or you talk to your friends.
Yes.
And they're like, oh yeah, I was so sad when Ares died.
When Ares died?
Not Ares?
You don't really care, do you?
Ares.
Jet Moto 2.
Don't bring it up, Jacob.
But Metal Gear Solid is a monumental game, and each of the sequels have been just as like game changing, except for the story gets crazy. This is the game where you would be playing and you're like, I've got 20 minutes to play. So you play for 10 minutes and there would be a cinematic that's about 25 minutes.
Yes.
You'd put the controller down and you'd be like, oh, this government takeover thing is going. They're really going.
It's a real-time
for this.
government takeover.
Yeah, which we're not going to get into because I've already been accused of a lot in this show.
Yeah, Kent loves his government takeovers.
There's certain things, though, like, honestly...
That's where we learn anything from this show, is that Kent loves government takeovers.
Yeah.
I was a teen.
But I love, like, the moments when, like, you're walking around and it's all quiet and you just get up against the wall and you just go, knock, knock, knock. And the guy goes, what was that? He starts walking towards you, and you're just like, I'm gonna break his neck.
Yeah. Or you get
Jeez, Joel.
wow.
Because if you get a silent takedown, the other guys don't come for you. And
Just
then when
sang
you
a song about breaking someone's neck.
but then
yeah, like a bro.
You never.
I'm gonna break his neck.
what? But then you also can get a cardboard box.
Yeah.
And like walk behind people, and like it's totally like you're huge, and this cardboard box is small, but you're like this walking box, and if you don't move when they're looking at you, it's fine.
Yeah, or they'll come up and they'll kick the box, like, huh? What's in this box?
The little exclamation point will pop above their head.
yeah, huh?
Yeah. So fun.
So good. I love this game. It is a masterpiece. It truly is.
Yeah. And then finally, the game we're both going to talk about, because it was one game that he and I both agreed on as one of the best games of the PlayStation, which is weird because it's not one of the best selling. It's in the top 50, I think.
I'm surprised because this was such an early game. There weren't that many like grade A games on the system.
Yeah. But we're talking
Set
about
the world on fire.
I am Calypso, and I thank you for playing Twisted Metal.
So good. But Twisted Metal
2. So Twisted Metal came out in 1995, and it was fun. And then they had 3 in 98, 4 in 99, Small Brawl in 2001. They had Black on the PlayStation 2.
Yes.
But Twisted Metal 2 was the epitome of what I thought was fun gaming back in the 90s. Because it's a demolition derby, but you're in these weird locations with these very cool characters, and you have like super attacks on your car. Like your car can shoot missiles,
homing missiles,
machine guns. They had a guy named Spectre, whose missiles could go through walls. They had Shadow, he drove a hearse, and he'd throw out these shadows at people and then make them explode. Twister was this race car that could spin around in a tornado. Oh, there's so many fun different characters here. But they all had the story, and the story is that Calypso has invited each one of these players specifically to come and fight in a tournament to the death. And then whoever's left at the end gets whatever wish they want, no matter it. Doesn't have to be like a realistic wish. It can be anything. He can grant it. But it was one of those be careful what you wish for
a monkey's
games.
paw sort of situation.
Like, for example, one of the ones, Hammerhead, these two idiots that drive a monster truck, they win the battle. And then at the end, you see their cinematic, and they go up to Calypso, and they're like, you can give us anything, right? And he's like, yes. And then he says, we want to be able to fly. And he's like, wish granted. And they're like, great. And they run and jump off the building and then fall to their death. And then Calypso reaches in his pocket and pulls out plane tickets. And he's like, well, what am I going to do with these tickets?
Yeah. And you just beat the game as those characters, and that's what you get. It like kicked you in the shin after every time you beat the game, but you wanted to beat it with every character.
Yeah.
The replayability is so good. And France. I mean, you are driving through Paris, the city streets. You knock down the Eiffel Tower and get a drive through the wreckage.
Yeah, you blow up the Eiffel Tower
good.
and then get a drive through it. In New York, you actually blow up the Statue of Liberty and turn it to a woman wearing a bikini.
Yep.
So random. There's so many different things. You can blow up windmills in Holland. LA, you can blow up the Hollywood sign. Like, there's all these different things in there, but you're also just fighting against each other. And it's an all-out brawl. Like, you have 5, 6, 7 people coming after you. And then you have like Sweet Tooth the clown.
So it was one of the mascots for the PlayStation as well. Sweet Tooth is so recognizable, and it's kind of like the Pennywise of the system because he is a terrifying clown.
But all of them had, the thing is, all of them had a story. All of them had a history. And then they all had this ending, and it was like, it was always that he always twisted
It was kind of
their
like Black
words.
Mirror. Every little thing was a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, like, well, I remember
Without the pigs.
What's his name?
That's for the best.
I can't remember his name. The guy in the Warthog. So Warthog just says he wants a young body again, and so then Calypso grants his wish, and he makes his body young, but his head is still an old man's. And like Spectre, he wants the world to know his face, and so Calypso takes his face and stretches it over the entire Earth. Like, it's all this kind of just weird.
Such a weird.
It's
game.
like this dark humor, and I really dug that as a kid. And the animation, hit and miss.
Old.
It's boxy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when you're driving around the streets of France, it doesn't really look.
You can like run
France.
right through buildings because there's so many bugs.
Yeah, there's glitches all over the place. But this is honestly one of the funnest games I've ever played, PlayStation or not. Twisted Metal 2. Who did you play, Ken? Who was your character in Twisted Metal 2?
It was actually Spectre.
You did Spectre?
Spectre was my favorite. I like the cop. Was it Outlaw?
Yeah, Outlaw 2. She was great.
She was great.
Like, Outlaw 2 and Shadow were my two that I go between.
Shadow was awesome.
I love Shadow. But then he was the hearse driver who shot out shadows. Spectre shot the missiles that went through walls. But he was also, when you play in New York, you could fall off buildings really easily.
Was it left, right, up for the freeze?
Yeah,
Left, right,
and then
back
for the bomb.
Sorry, we're getting so geeky.
This is geeky, but we didn't get very geeky. We've been very surface level this entire time.
Yeah, I've been very surface level this entire show.
But
what show was that? I know I'm sick, but it seems like okay.
Axel Power. Oh man, all the sound effects. I just love all the sound effects on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Twisted Metal is probably one of the funnest games I've ever played. I really enjoy the story. I enjoy the gameplay. I enjoyed the animation. Because the actual gameplay, like I said, was boxy kind of polygon animation. But then when I get to the cinematics at the end, it was kind of this animated cartoon.
It's actually a surprise they haven't really developed this game much further. So they made a Twisted Metal for the PlayStation 3. It was actually online, which is a really good idea. But they haven't gone for it after that. Like, they haven't made anything. With all these Battle Royale games now, they could easily do this again.
Well, and there was even talk
where
of
is the game like this, right?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
There was even talk of a Twisted Metal movie. And they were developing it in 2012. And
Starting to
then-
rock.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, they were going to do it, but then they said that they ended up scrapping it because they didn't feel like the fan base was big enough that they could necessitate the money that they needed to make it the way they wanted
Also,
to make
it seems a little bit like people are so sensitive now. Like, even on the back cover, it says, now with smarter, deadlier, deeper battles for worldwide creative killing behind the wheel. Like, that seems a little bit too sensitive now.
Yeah, it's true.
Creative killing behind the wheel? No, that would not fly.
No, but man, this was such a fun game. So we hope you played that. We hope you enjoyed our list. You want to run through those real quick, Jacob, the ones we talked about?
Whew. Okay, let's see what we can do here, because that's a long list, but we'll do it. First, Tomb Raider Collection, Spyro Collection, Papa Rappa, the rapper.
Papa Rappa.
Suffocation, no breathing.
Marvel Superheroes.
Marvel Superheroes.
Tekken 3. Heart of Darkness. Journey into the Conga.
That's not it.
Xenogears.
I don't know the sound effects for that.
Yeah,
kid.
Cam, what do you got there?
You do your games, I'll do
like
mine.
You don't like the game
It could
enough.
be a
I
word or a
love
sound
it.
effect.
Stop it.
Bushido Blade. Gran Turismo.
Realistic.
Oh, man, Joel, you're beating him. Need for Speed 2.
Awesome.
Awesome. Silent Hill.
I think.
Oddworld. Abe Yaspi's Odyssey. Resident Evil 2.
Watch out for the liquors.
There you go, kid. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Woo! Righteous. Guerrilla Radio.
Castlevania. Symphony of the Night.
Listen to my music.
You get after me for blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, sorry.
Crash Bandicoot.
Hoodwiga.
Final Fantasy 17.
Poor Eris. Poor Eris.
May she rest
Mom,
in
get
peace.
out of here.
Jet Moto 2.
Go Chef Boyardee.
Metal Gear Solid.
Snake.
And finally, Twisted Metal 2.
I am Calypso.
That one's actually digital download on PlayStation 4 right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm buying it.
$10.
I'm gonna get that too.
Yeah.
Worth it.
All right, guys, that's a wrap then.
All right. So thank you for listening. Let us know your favorite PlayStation games. If we missed the ones that you wanted to talk about, let us know on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram. We're all those places. If you want to find me, you can find me at 786Joel on Twitter, or you can find me performing with Quickwits. They perform every Saturday night at the Midville Performing Arts Center. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quickwits Facebook page.
I would like to apologize to Chrono Cross and Vagrant Story and several other RPGs which I didn't get to name in Final Fantasy IX, just to name a few. Because I love you all. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kenny3DD, and you can read my movie reviews at ShowtimeShowdown.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob A. Rogers, and you can find Baconsale on Twitter, of course, at Baconsale, and on Instagram at Baconsale there as well. Go to our merchandise store, tpublic.com/Baconsale. We got lots and lots and lots of stuff there. Go get a sticker. We need to be advertising these stickers more. For $2, you can
I
get
got a sticker on my car.
You can get a Baconsale sticker.
Do you?
Yeah.
What does it say? Team Kent?
It says-
Baconsale.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to have a Team Kent sticker on my car
He would, actually.
because I am Kent.
Are you Team Kent? I am.
Yeah, you got to tell that story. All right, but for now, guys, I need you to follow my instructions very carefully. Are you ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kick.
Kick.
Punch.
Punch.
Block.
Block.
Chop, kick, block.
Chop, kick, block.
Baconsale.
Baconsale.
Just around the river bend.
Snake.
There's going to be
Snake.
one.
Snake.
Snake. Snake. Snake.
Snake. Snake.
I don't know if I
Snake.
much into it.
Snake.
Melee.
Oh no. Snake.
Kick.
Punch. It's all in the mind.
This is the best game ever, and it's better than Sega and Nintendo and anything ever. Would you please put some lotion on my back, Sonny? Sure, lady.
Punch. It's all in the mind. If you want to test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach you is sure to beat you, but nevertheless, you get a lesson from the teacher now.
The wrestling came after the PlayStation, and so something broke.
Kids, don't listen to Uncle Kent, okay? You're silly, you silly Neanderthal.
If the PlayStation 1 was a girl, it would have been my high school sweetheart. There's only a few polygons.
Stop.
1 or 2.
Stop.
Wild dog? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Ugly. You're ruining the rhythm of the song, man.
Jacob's naked.
Well,
No one
can't
can
touch
see
that.
anything. It's a podcast.
Yeah, they don't know I'm on a park bench.
Throw compliment. It is rejected.
Hey, I'm going to take down the government.
Is Jacob talking in slow motion?
Guys, we haven't been to the Passionate Kent yet. It's Helvetica. It is Helvetica 11. Especially when little midget children are chasing you with knives.
Little midget children. Say Marvel suck.
A liquor.
A what?
A liquor?
What?
Which is kind of like
Like a bottle of the no-no liquid? Hold on, let me Google liquor.
Please don't.
Okay.
Not in my Wi-Fi.
I'm wondering why Jacob wants to act out this fantasy of shooting people in real life.
Your words are as empty as your soul.
Patience, my son. Patience.
Pirating.
Let me be noble in this regard and help this poor soul out while I have 50 other DVDs burning in the process right now.
Mom, get out of here. Mom.
Mom, I'm having emotions.
Don't look
Leave
at
the
my
room.
face.
I'm like, you gotta go.
Mom, there's water coming out of my eyes.
You ruined my game.
Used hover bikes and you go around tracks, and it was fun. I'm gonna break his neck.
Yeah. Watch out for the liquors.
Are you Team Kent? I am.
Sometimes a killer body just isn't enough.
Wow.
Baconsale.